Today I had to make one of the toughest decisions of my professional career. Today I terminated Phil Brooks, CM Punk, for cause. This stems from a backstage incident at AEW All In last Sunday. The incident was regrettable, and it endangered people backstage. That includes the production staff, the people who help put the show on every week, innocent people who had nothing to do with it. I've been going to wrestling shows for over 30 years. I've been producing them on this network for nearly 4 years. Never in all that time have I ever felt, until last Sunday, that my security, my safety, my life was in danger at a wrestling show. I don't think anybody should feel that way at work. I don't think the people I work with should feel that way. And I had to make a very difficult choice today. It came at the recommendation of a discipline committee here in AEW, as well as outside legal counsel, who delivered a unanimous recommendation. And I have followed up on that recommendation. I'm sorry to any fans who are upset by this. I'm sorry to anyone who's upset by this. Despite that, we're gonna have a great show tonight on Collision, and we're gonna have a great AEW All Out pay-per-view tomorrow here in Chicago. Last weekend was the greatest weekend in AEW history. This is the greatest week in AEW history. We're gonna continue the great momentum here tonight on Collision and tomorrow night on All Out pay-per-view. Let's take a...
The following podcast has been paid for by Perched on the Top Rope.
Hey everybody, this is Badass Billy Gunn, and you're listening to Perch on the Top Rope. And if you're not down with that, got 2 words for you. Suck it.
Welcome everyone to Perched on the Top Rope. It's me. I am your host, former dirt sheet writer from the Sportster, the richest daily DDT, Ringside News, and Sportskeeda. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Lee Walker, and today's episode 152, is going to be all about the best in the world, CM Punk. And ladies and gentlemen, as we know, CM Punk has been fired by AEW. Now, this was the press release that AEW had sent out, which states the following: statement from All Elite Wrestling and Tony Khan. All Elite Wrestling, AEW has terminated the wrestler and employment agreements between Philip Brooks, CM Punk, and AEW with cause effective immediately. The termination was confirmed today by Tony Khan, CEO, General Manager, and Head Creative of AEW. The termination follows a week-long internal investigation of an incident occurring backstage at AEW All In London on Sunday, August 27th. Following the investigation, the AEW Discipline Committee met and later convened with outside legal counsel before making a unanimous recommendation to Khan that CM Punk be terminated with cause. Tony Khan offered the following statement: Philip played an important role within AEW, and I thank him for his contributions. The termination of his AEW contracts with cause is ultimately my decision and mine alone. Of course, I wish I didn't have to share this news, which may come as a disappointment to many of our fans. Nevertheless, I am making the decision in best interests of the many amazing people who make AEW possible every week, our talent, staff, venue operators, and many others whose efforts are unsung but essential to bringing our fans great shows on television and at arenas and stadiums throughout the world. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the incident at hand that led to CM Punk being fired. So a while back on AEW Collision, Jungle Boy Jack Perry wanted to do a spot using real glass This brought out many to tell him that it was a bad idea, including Tony Schiavone. CM Punk took offense to it, referring to Jack Perry wanting to basically do the spot so he didn't have to wrestle the next week. So, what happens at All In? Hook is taking on Jack Perry for the FTW Championship, and this was on the 0 Hour pre-show, to which there was a car up at the entranceway, and Perry pointed to the windshield of the car on the stage and remarked, "Real glass," slapped on it, and then goes, "Cry me a river." Now, I talked about this in a previous episode of Perched on the Top Rope, but I don't know who, was in charge of making the match card, but the 0 Hour pre-show ended with Jungle Boy Jack Perry taking on Hook, and the opening match to AEW All In London was CM Punk versus Samoa Joe, and then it was followed by the Elite versus Bullet Club Gold, ladies and gentlemen, and you didn't know at which point there could have been an altercation, but there was an altercation, and it ended up being between Jack Perry and CM Punk. After Jack Perry's match, he approached Punk backstage and stepped in his face and bumped Punk right before Punk's match to the kickoff show. Punk then pushed Perry and I guess nicely told him a reminder that he could kick his ass and put him in a chokehold. Oh boy. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Apparently, they made their way around Tony Khan, and televisions were bumped onto Tony Khan, or bumped into Tony Khan, and Tony Khan felt threatened by this, and so on and so forth. But there's more to this story here. Samoa Joe apparently is the one that broke up Jungle Boy and CM Punk, and it was Samoa Joe that had to convince CM Punk to go out there and have their match still, which they did, and it seemed to be a pretty good match at All In. But the tension between Punk and Perry began a few weeks ago when Perry wanted to do a spot on AEW Collision using real glass. CM Punk vetoed the idea, and Perry apparently resented this. During his match against Hook, he tapped on the limousine window, said to the camera, "That's real glass, cry me a river." It was a clear shot at Punk. Perry's message is likely what caused the tension between him and Punk for the spark of controversy here. Now, we were kind of unclear of what was going to happen as far as punishments and this and that. We found out that Jungle Boy Jack Perry was asked to leave the arena while CM Punk was still there. We would later find out that was done so that there wouldn't be a further altercation. We would then also learn at that time that Jungle Boy Jack Perry and CM Punk would be suspended indefinitely from AEW until AEW figured everything out. Now, this also meant that a week later we would not get Jungle Boy or CM Punk at All Out. But we would find out that Friday ahead of Rampage that CM Punk would be fired from AEW, which would lead to Tony Khan coming onto AEW Collision ahead of AEW's All Out to discuss why he fired CM Punk, and we're going to play that audio footage now for you so you can hear his reasoning.
Welcome home for me. Okay. So okay, I understand where you're coming from. I have never done this before. I wanted to come out and talk to you before the show starts. Usually when I come out here in Chicago, in front of friends and family, I always talk about how I'm from this great state. I'm from the great state of Illinois myself. I grew up here. I grew up downstate in Champaign. And to come here to this building was pretty much the biggest deal in the world to me. Until I was 28 years old, I had never spent more than 2.5 weeks in a row out of Illinois in my entire life. And I love it here very much. I love bringing pro wrestling here. This weekend means a lot to me. 5 years ago, I came. It wasn't actually in the city, as many of you remember. 5 years ago, it was out at Hoffman Estates, near the streets of Woodfield. I went to the original All In. That was the biggest independent wrestling show of all time. 5 years later, last weekend, we had AEW All In. That was the biggest pro wrestling show of all time, period. We sold more tickets to that show than any wrestling show in the history of the wrestling business. And now, it's very important to me to keep the tradition of All Out alive. All Out started, to be honest with you, because when I started AEW, Ring of Honor had paid for the original All In, and I couldn't call it All In without possibly getting sued by Ring of Honor, which I now own. I came here to talk to you from the bottom of my heart because today I had to do one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, and sitting here right now is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I'm sure everybody knows what, at this point, what I'm going to say, but I think it's important that I come out here and talk to you about it before Collision and All Out this weekend, because I really respect all of you. I'm a wrestling fan like you, and if I were in your shoes, I could totally understand how a lot of you feel one way or the other. But I just want to tell you, I'm out here because I had to do something I did not want to do today. I'm very sorry to fans or anybody who's upset by it. This week we conducted an investigation independent of me. I have a discipline committee in AEW that is independent, and it's comprised the majority of lawyers. And I also brought in outside legal counsel. I hired independent lawyers to investigate this and make a recommendation. This was different than anything I've ever been involved in sports or wrestling. It was very tough. When I met them, the unanimous recommendation was the action that I took. The action that I took came as a result of this investigation, but I have to say it stems from an incident backstage last weekend at AEW All In London. I've been going to wrestling shows like you for over 30 years, and the first one I ever went to was with my dad, who's here tonight, downstate in Champaign, Illinois. And thank you, Dad, because without him, none of this would be possible, because he took a huge leap on a dream that became AEW. And that's why we're here. And everything I know about business, I learned from him. He's a family businessman. This is a family business. And I care about the people who work here. That's the production staff, that's everybody that works here. The wrestlers, but also people you don't think about every day that make this show happen. I've been going to wrestling shows for over 30 years as a fan, and I've been producing them on TNT here for almost 4 years now. And this was the first time, this incident, that I have ever feared for my safety in a wrestling show, that I have ever feared for my life in a wrestling show, or that I have ever feared for the safety of the people who work backstage, the production staff. I'm sorry, but they don't come here, they don't work here to be put in danger. The people who work on the production week to week should not come to work and worry about, am I going to get hurt? Or worse, there shouldn't be 50-year-old people with artificial joints worried, am I going to get hurt for coming to work? So work on AEW every single week. I'm sorry, I can't have that, and I won't have that, and that's why I made a very tough choice. There's no place in the world, this is literally the last place in the world, literally the United Center, that I would want to tell you this. But, no. committee, but the decision was mine. I'm sorry for anybody who's upset, but I want you to know that I know you're all here tonight because we love professional wrestling. This company is a lot better than professional wrestling, and I know there's wrestlers here that every single one of you care about. They're all going to work very hard to put on a great episode of Collision for you here tonight. They're going to work very hard, I promise, to put a great all-out on for you, because we've been doing all-out here for years, and I want to keep it in Chicago forever. It means a lot. I love this town. I love this state. I love so many people here, including my family and so many of you. I love pro wrestling. I love doing this every week. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm sorry if I disappointed you. Was never my intent, but I did what I had to do for the people that work here. I love you very much. Thank you for being here.
Now that took place, ladies and gentlemen, on AEW Collision the night before AEW's All Out pay-per-view. And a lot of wrestlers have weighed in on the Jungle Boy CM Punk controversy that took place, including Bully Ray on a recent episode of Busted Open weighed in on his thoughts on how AEW should have handled the reported incident between Jack Perry and CM Punk at All In, and here's what he said. Jungle Boy is an arrogant young boy who doesn't understand the industry, Ray said. He doesn't know better. He's a young, brash kid who doesn't know better. And I'm sure all these dirt sheets are going to have a field day with this one, but he needs to be sat down by a veteran like a Taz, like a JR, like a Billy Gunn, one of those guys, and made to understand and educate him as to why you don't say those things on camera for a multitude of reasons. And again, he doesn't know any better, Ray reiterated. He's flexing when he shouldn't be flexing, and flexing for no reason. Back in the day, there was a way to handle young boys like Jack Perry. Some of those ways still apply, and I'm not talking about beating the shit out of him, but back in the day, that's what would have happened. And on Story Time with Dutch Mantell, WWE Hall of Famer Dutch Mantell shares his thoughts on the CM Punk Jungle Boy controversy over the wanting to use real glass incident, which you can listen to right here.
Yet another issue involving Punk, but it's not that much involving Punk, is Punk getting into an argument with Jungle Boy Jack Perry. So Fightful reported that Perry was brought into one of the 4 Collision episodes filmed in Canada over late June and July to film a segment that contained a spot which Perry wanted to use real glass for. They did not report what the purpose of the segment was. According to the report, Punk felt Perry was throwing a temper tantrum over his desired use of real glass, and despite production, doctors, and Tony Schiavone recommending otherwise. Punk reportedly felt Perry was trying to avoid having to work the next week, which people see as a big part of a problem in AEW, but in fact, I think he'd actually scheduled a holiday for the next week, and he wanted to write himself off TV. But why would anyone want to use real glass?
Idiot. Seriously. I mean, these guys are going to kill themselves soon enough without adding to the problem. And I'll have to say that I think Punk was right. You got to protect him from himself. See, I think what Punk is seeing, that if he used real glass, he would get cut. All of a sudden, then he gets it infected. Nobody sees him. He said, it's infected. I can't go. and he would miss the next week of TV. I mean, a lot of things go into this. So this is what we call in the business working the boss. I mean, he don't know. You could just tell him, "Oh, I got it infected, and doctor told me not to go anywhere, and it's contagious," or any kind of stuff like that. But there's some heat, I think, between Punk and what's his guy named Jungle Boy Jack Perry.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some heat, whether it's real or manufactured. Probably Jungle Boy could hear some of the other guys talking about him in the dressing room and agree with them. And Punk could hear, "Hey, Jungle, Jack Perry's talking bad about you." So, I mean, they got a problem there. They got a problem with their talent, and they act like 10th graders sometimes.
I think glass
is
glass is really easy to fake.
What is that?
Glass is really easy to fake. So why not just use fake glass that won't cut you to ribbons?
Well, I don't know what kind of glass he's going to go through, but glass is pretty dangerous. You know, what's he going to go through? A plate, a pane of plate glass?
Yeah, let's say that was it. Why would you not use fake glass instead?
I don't know. I don't know how he's going to go through it. What was going to go through it? A hand or a head? Or,
who knows?
I don't know either. But if they said, listen, if they come up to me and they said, "Okay, Dutch, we got something for you today. We got some real glass in the back, and we want you to let your opponent take you by the head and just ram your head and break that glass." I said, "You got to be out of your goddamn mind. You think I'm going to go through a plate of glass?" Now, I don't know what kind of glass it was, but glass sometimes is thick. So I'm not going to do it. The first thing I would say was a plastic glass or the fake glass sold out? So I'm not going to go through real glass. I'm just not going to do it. And then, can you imagine the reports on that? Dutch Mantell refused to go through a half-inch plate glass window at the taping last Saturday. That bastard, what the hell is he trying to do?
You'd be fired.
I'd be fired. I really would. And they can say I had a bad attitude about it too. But anyway, I don't know what went on there. Again, I'm not in the back. It's just good. I'm just conjecturing about it. I don't know what happened, but it's another thing that, they're saying that Punk did wrong, but I think he made the right call on this. Don't go through. You have a chance to get hurt. Okay, let's say they have plate glass, want him to go through it. He does it. He gets hurt. Who's he suing? He's suing the company because they're the ones who told him to do it. See, Khan and Punk, every time something happens, they got to look at it from a legal lens. Are they liable? And they could be. So take it for what it is. He didn't go through it, and I don't know when was this?
Late June, early July.
Was he on TV the next week?
I don't know.
I don't know either. See, I think before we start commenting on this, we need to kind of do a little more research. So I don't know.
Now on Reality of Wrestling, Booker T's podcast, Booker T also talked about the incidences between CM Punk and Jungle Boy at All In, and we're going to play that for you right now.
But we can go into the shows from this weekend. Book, did you get to see All In? Because I got to sit down and watch All In. I'm sure you saw some clips if you didn't get to watch the show.
Bro, didn't I just tell you?
You were unplugged.
I unplugged. I didn't watch any wrestling this weekend. I didn't watch All In. I heard about the kerfuffle between CM Punk and who was the Jungle Boy? Jack Perry. I heard about the kerfuffle. I didn't. We could talk about it right now. Let me know the details.
How about look? We'll read the article here. This is from SEScoops.com. This is the title: CM Punk and Jack Perry reportedly facing suspensions from AEW because of their physical altercation. At All In on Sunday. Jack Perry and CM Punk will reportedly both be suspended from AEW. Here's what happened: CM Punk and Jack Perry will reportedly be suspended. Okay, I read that. Punk and Perry got into a physical altercation backstage at All In over the weekend, and both will be punished. The altercation stemmed from Perry seemingly calling Punk out on television during his match with Hook on the All In 0 hour pre-show. Last week, reports indicated that Punk was critical of Jack Perry wanting to use real glass in a match of his on Collision. Perry looked into the camera at All In and spoke about the windshield he was about to use as a weapon. Perry said, "This is real glass. Cry me a river about it." Reports indicate that Perry and Punk went at it right after the match concluded, but before Punk was set to kick off the main card against Samoa Joe. At the All In media scrum, Tony Khan commented on the situation by saying there was a larger investigation taking place to find out what happened, blah, blah, blah. So what they actually say happened backstage was it's either one of two things. Either Punk walked up to Jack Perry, said he didn't like the comment. Perry shoved Punk, and then Punk put him in a chokehold.
Real naked.
Hey, man.
Front face.
I don't know. I think it was a front face guillotine. I don't know. This is what's being reported. Or Punk walked up to Perry and started the altercation. Now, Jack Perry was.
Wait a minute. I want to know about the guillotine.
Well, we don't know. No one's really talking. No one's really saying what's exactly happening. But for the CM Punk side of things, apparently, Punk had an issue with Jack Perry wanting to use real glass on the show, which I'm actually going to side with Punk on. I don't think you really need to use real glass.
I mean, he let these young guys use real glass if they want to use real glass, man.
Look, but I guess that's veteran advice. Like, hey, man, you might not want to use the real glass. Let's get some gimmick glass, brother. Because you remember when Goldberg punched through the window and almost killed himself?
I've been at several scenes where Goldberg have knocked himself out.
I know when you would see him, like he's had like blood on his head from like hitting
the
locker.
I'm serious. I saw him spear to the turnbuckle, the pole. I saw him spear it, right his head, right, bang, knocked himself right out.
But the thing is with glass, unpredictable. So CM Punk makes this known, hey, this is not a really good idea. And then Jack Perry, I guess, gives him his receipt. It seems a little petty on
Wait a minute. I'm not trying to, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, right? Mm-hmm. Don't you remember 2 years ago when they first started this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I recall, Jack Perry was one of the guys that said he didn't take advice from veterans.
Was that Jack Perry or was that? I think that was Adam Page.
Oh, that might have been Adam Page. Okay,
I think it was Adam Page.
Okay,
but,
all right. My bad.
No, it's good. It's good.
My bad. I remember. Maybe look here. Maybe it falls under all the young guys' premise.
Pillars.
These days. Well, look, man, we ain't got time to be listening to some guy who think they know what it's all about. Maybe that's it.
Well, nevertheless, Jack Perry does what he does. He calls him out to the camera on the pre-show.
That's a promo though, right?
I feel like that's just a receipt, right? I don't know if that's worth getting hot about.
Come on. Why would you get hot over something that somebody is saying in a promo on television?
It wasn't a promo. It was to the camera. Okay, Jack Perry's wrestling Hook. They're about to do a spot on a car, right? And Jack Perry hits the windshield and then turns to the camera and says, "That's real glass. Cry me a river about it," right? making reference to Punk not allowing him, because the report was Punk didn't allow him to use real glass on Collision.
Hey man, hey, I get it, man. I get it. A lot of these guys, a lot of these guys aren't going to fall in line with CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is. I think. After the press scrum and everything got out of hand, you remember what I said? Yeah, I said, man, if I was in that company, I would have a bad taste in my mouth every time I saw CM Punk.
I think you said you'd fight him every time you saw him.
I did say that. That's it. It'd be a fight every time I saw him. Just because I was one of those originals. I felt like I helped build that thing, and then a guy just came. That's just me. That's just me. Maybe it's still some residual, feelings after that. I don't know. But I could tell you this. Put him. Hey, you remember the brawl fall? It's money to be made here. It's money to be made.
Yeah, but Punk would have to fight in every brawl for all. It'd have to be him versus everybody else in the locker room. That's not fair. It's not fair.
Look, you can make the rules however you want to make them. I'm just trying to create a third string of revenue.
Look, let me ask you this seriously, because after the altercation, however it went down, Jack Perry reportedly was asked to leave the building, was escorted out. CM Punk was asked to leave or escorted himself out, whatever report you want to believe. About an hour after his match was over, he left the building, neither of which were there to see the main event or support, the show throughout. If I don't know, if somebody made an inside reference about you in a match, would you have words with them right as you're about to go out? Would you wait? Is that something you handle later? I think that they both look bad in the situation. Personally, I don't think anyone looks good in this, but I'm just trying to understand the mentality.
Me personally, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be getting into a fight at the building before the match. But then again, I might be getting into a fight if tensions are that high between the two people. I don't know. CM Punk might have been upset about a plethora of things. I did read earlier today when I was scrolling through the social media sites, and I saw CM Punk landed at Heathrow Airport, and nobody from AEW, a representative, none of their people were there to pick him up, and he had to buy his own train ticket to get to the hotel.
Oh, wow.
That right there, I know. Look here, I know if I land in Heathrow, and my people ain't there to pick me up, I'm getting back on the damn plane and I'm going back home. I'm serious. And you know what? And then if I had to get to the hotel, I'm going to be hot about it. You know what I mean? I'm going to still be mad. I'm going to still be boiling a little bit, especially after I just did Rampage, from what I read. I'd be hot about it. So it could have been a multitude of things that, flick that switch to where those guys say, man, let's go. Let's get this done.
And yeah, I understand. We don't know the full situation either, but it's just interesting that every time there seems to be drama, it's all around one person. And now I don't know if, hey, CM Punk at first was starting all the drama and then tried to call it all out at the press conference that day. And then since he's come back, he made himself a target in the locker room. So as he may not be starting the drama now the drama's finding him. I don't know what's going on.
Look, you got to understand the pecking order, though, Brad. I'm not, jumping on CM Punk's side here or anything like that. But you got to know the pecking order. Tony Khan brought CM Punk in to quarterback this thing, right?
Right.
And when the quarterback come in, what letter do he got on his jersey?
C.
Bam.
Well, and that's my point actually too. And again, I'm not like I'm defending CM Punk, but if the Collision show is the Punk show, which it is, I mean, from reports, he can say who and who can't even come into the building on Saturday nights, right?
Well, he better hope a lot more people come into the building because the rating was 348,000 viewers.
Well, we need to get that up. We need to work on that.
Yeah. You need as much help as you can get.
But if he's the captain and he says, hey, look, man, let's not use glass, and he's got that kind of authority to say, let's not use real glass. Then as the youngin, as the rookie, as the young boy, right? You listen to what the vet has to say, especially if he has the C on his shirt, to use your analogy.
I mean, some rules and regulations. Yeah, I mean,
rules and
I
regulations.
think it should be some rules and regulations. I mean, no one should be having to use a real glass to bash over their head and cut a artery or something and bleed all over the place and end up perhaps dying.
Now, Eric Bischoff, former president of WCW, praised Tony Khan on Twitter. Just heard the news, in my opinion, Tony Khan made the right call. A tough one, but the right one. #respect. Now, interestingly enough, fans, we have heard through Fightful that CM Punk had tried to push for a WWE return. Apparently it came from after the clash with the Elite last year. Punk was heavily pushing for an AEW exit when this had happened. Not only that, it's believed that he was very interested in a return to WWE at the time, and Fightful goes on to report that Punk's camp was pitching for a 2023 Royal Rumble return and a match with Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. CM Punk wanted to appear at the 2023 Royal Rumble. One of the rumored ideas that Punk had, not confirmed with he or his camp, actually made its way back to some WWE talent. He would return at the Royal Rumble and work a match at WrestleMania against the person who would eliminate him. Word within WWE was that Kevin Owens was the name thrown around, and he'd go on to main event night 1 at WrestleMania. The report doesn't state that WWE wanted Punk back at the time or even now, and doesn't confirm whether or not the former AEW star now wants back in the company. However, it does show a willingness, at least from the wrestler's side, for a deal to have been reached last year. Kevin Owens and Punk would likely be a dream match for most WWE fans, particularly both are widely charismatic and have quite outspoken characters, though it's worth noting KO is a close friend of the Young Bucks, so there may be reservations about him working with CM Punk. Now, I, for one, would actually like to see that match because it sounds like a pretty good match. And let's be honest, I am a huge mark for WWE Royal Rumble surprise entrance. But we are expected to hear from CM Punk about being fired as early as this weekend, according to Sports Illustrated's Justin Barrasso. Sources close to both CM Punk and AEW expect him to make a public statement about his status, as we know that CM Punk was fired from All Elite Wrestling. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hear from one more person, and this one's a doozy. It's always controversial. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Cornette on the Jungle Boy CM Punk controversy.
Based on the limited feedback you've seen already on social media and whatever you've seen in your emails, the people who didn't like CM Punk, the fans I'm talking, who were just all about the Bucks, or maybe just not about the drama, whatever it was, they didn't want CM Punk there. Do you think they're as happy as the fans who feel disappointed and upset with either Tony's decision-making or what Collision now is, or the promise of AEW, whatever it is? Are the people happy that Punk is gone happier than how upset the people or disappointed the people who are disappointed are?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Me neither. Me neither.
Because a lot of people Obviously the Buckaroo Banzais out there didn't want Punk, and they're happy he's gone, right? And he was the root of all evil, and oh my God, he let violence solve something in the wrestling business. All that, whatever. But there are so many people now that even if they were on the fence or whatever, this statement, and Tony, if most of their audience, I would think, is male, and every adult male is good. You were scared for your life, dude. Seriously. And the discipline committee, and just that Tony comes off like such a putz. He's a wishy-washy, no bass in his voice, distracted looking fucking guy. I'm sure he's very nice and friendly. But a lot of people are making fun of him now because, again, scared for your life and a discipline committee. And
let's see the video.
Here's something else. He did not tell what the incident was. He made it sound like, I don't know if Punk might not have a case for slander, because when he made it sound like that people were scared for their lives legitimately and production people were in jeopardy, it sounds like he pulled out a goddamn assault rifle. It sounds like there was chaos going on.
It sounds like he's telling Punk's lawyers all the various people that need to be sat down and talked to in a deposition is what he sounds like.
Yes, but what I'm saying is the viewer that didn't read the internet will think, my God, what did this crazy man do? It sounded so ridiculous, or it sounded so over the top. So a lot of people are making fun of Tony because I was scared for my life, and he's just such a Casper milquetoast motherfucker. A lot of people are pissed off that this couldn't be handled or settled. A lot of people are, wait a minute. Think about this. They have backstage attacks 3 or 4 times on every program, and nothing ever happens, and they never even get mentioned again sometimes. But this time, the biggest star in the company that a couple 100,000 people are tuning in to see, the owner comes out and says, they got to fight backstage. I had to fire him. We were all scared for our lives. Goddamn, show me that on the show then. It must have been better than the shit you show me normally. None of it makes any sense to a variety of people. Grown adult men think Tony Khan is a pussy and a coward. Fans who wanted to watch for CM Punk or just wanted to watch for a goddamn decent wrestling show are disheartened and disgusted. And everybody looks like a complete idiot. They made bigger news than drawing 80,000 people to Wembley Stadium, and nobody even saw it. How stupid do you have to be to do that?
And this is why WWE doesn't take Tony Khan personally seriously.
Bingo, the kid. That's what I've been saying all along. And that's why 6 months into this thing, the WWE stopped offering everybody a fucking fortune not to go, because they saw what it was and they saw who he was. And they said, okay, we've been through this before and it was a stiffer fight then. We got nothing to worry about.
How big will Cody versus Punk be in WWE?
It'll be ginormous. Those 2 promos, are you kidding? I can't. Who else can the WWE bring in that will cause more stir and draw more attention and provide us with a little any more entertaining promos in the wrestling world today than CM Punk?
That's Hulk Hogan.
Or maybe Shibata and his missing brain.
It's not missing. Again, we have to go through this. He has the brain.
All right. So Shibata comes in and brings the brain in a box or a wheelbarrow or whatever.
It's in his head. It was returned to his head.
It was returned to him. I'm sorry, I forgot. It was overdue. They had to pay a overdue fee. But yeah, who else in the world of wrestling? I'm just going to, this is my comment. Who else in the world of wrestling can the WWE bring in to legitimately do big business with and try to make money with, and not some past their prime, broken down Japanese legend or some indie darling that everybody's going to turn their nose up and fart at? And the answer right now in this environment is CM Punk.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, whether you love him or hate him, CM Punk is fired from AEW, and we now just wait a response. Now, as you know, our episodes on Apple Podcasts drop every Tuesday, every Thursday, and every Saturday. And ladies and gentlemen, this Thursday, we have our former podcast host, Izzy Moreno. That's right, Izzy's back, and she's got a lot to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. She's forever remembered as Bayley's biggest fan, but she is now out to break that mold as she is now a professional wrestler. She's a regular on Busted Open Radio, and she was a former co-host of Perched on the Top Rope, so you can expect that dropping on Thursday's episode of Perched on the Top Rope. But you can also listen to those interviews at youtube.com/Perched on the Top Rope or at Perched on the Top Rope. Make sure you find this podcast anywhere and everywhere from Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, Podbay, Red Circle, you name it, we're there. It's Perched on the Top Rope. And for all of those countries that have kept us on your Chartables, which is Chartables Top 250 in professional wrestling, we thank you. And those countries include the United States, Japan, United Kingdom, India, Saudi Arabia, Australia, Bosnia, Georgia, Germany, Mexico, Bangladesh, Canada, Chile, Sri Lanka, Palau, and Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in each and every single week with Perched on the Top Rope. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Perched on the Top Rope. We are on Twitter at Perched Top Rope because Perched on the Top Rope is too long. You can also find us on TikTok at Perched on the Top Rope. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Perched on the Top Rope. You can also find us at Instagram and Threads at Perched on the Top Rope Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 152 of Perched on the Top Rope. Always remember that spoiler free's the way to be. I'm out.